Kware Dam in Mukuru Kwanjenga has been the highlight each day. The retrieval of disembodied bodies, some with missing body parts, some decomposing. And as Kenyans finger the government of how bodies in such a manner were dumped without their knowledge.
DCI imesema kwa huyu mtu anakaa 200 meter away from, ambapo pia mimi naishi 200 meter away from that Kware. Huyo kijana tunajuana, si vijana lungalunga, Sinai, Pipeline, Paradise, wapi Kware, kila mahali. Kijana kama huyo hatujaweza kumtambua, sura iko very clear. We don't know him. Don't lie to Kenyans that huyo kijana alifanya kitu kama hiyo.
Mimi kama a woman, obviously na feel vibaya sana kwa sababu hawa ni wanawake wenzetu, they are vulnerable. So unapata najaribu kufikiria inafikia wapi, unapata unaua mtu hiyo design juu kuna watu wenye hadi wamekatakatwa wako half bodies, unapata kuna mguu, intestines, unapata kuna mwili ya juu. Mbona mfikie hapo?
3 days later, fearful of the wrath of Kenyans, the office of the DCI and police have jumped into action and named the suspect behind the killings.
This morning arrested the prime suspect, already identified to you guys by the Acting Inspector General, known as Collins Jumaisa Halusha, 33 years old. The suspect was arrested at Soweto in Kayole sub-county this morning at around 3 a.m. in a joint operation by the DCI and the National Police Service officers.
Mohammed Amin, the Director General of DCI, confirming the arrest of Collins Jumaiso Kalisia, says he was arrested while at a club in Soweto in Kayole.
Upon arrest of the suspect, he led our officers to his single-room rental house in Kware, which is located about 100 meters from the crime scene. We conducted a quick search in the house, which led to recovery of the following very, very crucial exhibits. We were able to recover 24 Airtel SIM card holders with new SIM cards, 8 smartphones, and 2 feature phones.
The suspect is also said to have been found in possession of a machete, 12 nylon sacks, a pair of industrial rubber gloves, 2 female panties, 4 clean sellotapes, a nylon rope, 8 smartphones, 5 roll of bank, 2 documents, and a reflector jacket. As detectives ran around the clock to crack those behind the gruesome killings, questions from Kenyans continue to emerge. How did the police fail to locate the key suspect's one-room rental house in Kware, some 100 meters from the dump site? Did the police be able to record reported incidents of missing persons? How did the police in Kware fail to note that the dumping site had dead bodies?
Kuna watu kwa sababu huyo mdemo yamekuja report ni wa community. So kuna watu wana miss.
In terms of dreaming, we are not dreamers and we don't believe in dreaming. We are guided by professionalism. Even before the said Josephine prophesied what she prophesied, we had our work plan clearly cut for us.
We are asking, is it possible, the way the DCI was explaining today, that an individual can murder more than 10 women, dismember them, place them in sacks, transport them to a quarry next to a police station without detection and in a crowded area? The only people with the capacity to do that kind of industrial scale criminal enterprise is state agencies gone rogue.
Meanwhile, 9 bodies have been retrieved from the dump site. However, more bodies are yet to be confirmed, as the suspect found confirmed to have killed over 42 women and dumped their bodies in the dumping site. Milia Kisienya, K24 TV.
All right, now still on that, the government has been accused of overlooking the murders being discovered in Kware in Mukuru Kwanjenga by failing to dispatch teams to assist in the retrieval exercise that is taking time with poorly equipped residents. They have since asked machinery to be dispatched to gain access to the unreachable zones of the quarry as they believe more and more bodies are buried in the area. Here is Ben Kirira with more.
During a visit to Kware area today, a white sack was retrieved shortly after noon. Upon opening, it contained the dismembered and decayed body of a woman. The sack also had several syringes, medical gloves, and other medical equipment.
Hata kama wewe ni mnyama namna gani ndugu yangu, uwezi kata mtu ile venye amekatwa. Ile mtu amekatwa kama mtu mwenye anafanya kwa bujeli.
Hiyo mwili kabisa hata haijulikani. Yaani imeoza kabisa, imeoza, ni mfupa tupu. Ni mfupa alafu imewekwa na matakataka kwa hiyo gunia. Ni kitendo cha unyama sana.
On Sunday, Director of Criminal Investigations Mohammed Amin suggested that rogue medical practitioners could be involved in the murders.
Could we be dealing with the rogue medical practitioners that are dealing with criminal activity?
The irate residents of Mukuru Kwanjenga are criticizing both the Nairobi County and national governments for their lack of assistance in retrieving bodies from the Mukuru Kwanjenga quarry.
Saa hii serikali haijawajibika kufika hapa. Alafu baadaye utasikia tutawafanyia unyama hao watu.
Saa hizi tungepata kama ni jeshi imekuwa hapa, iko very serious kutoa watu hapa ndani. Lakini wewe uko tu pale campaign umetenga.
The recovery operation, which began on Friday, July 12th, has largely relied on volunteers from the community.
Mbona hii jambo limefanyika hapa na wale viongozi wa hii area hawajaonekana hapa wakisaidiana na hao wananchi? Wameenda wapi ile wakati sisi tunalia machozi yetu juu ya watu wetu wenye wako hapa?
Residents have also disputed the government's reported number of retrieved bodies. While official records state that 9 bodies have been found, locals claim the actual number is closer to 16.
Hata unaona vile hiyo maji inachemka hivyo. Ni kama kuna miili bado zimesinki wapi? Zimesinki ndani. Tunaomba serikali, nyinyi ndio mnajua, mnasema mko na vifaa vya kuokoa watu.
As the number of bodies being retrieved from this quarry here at Mukuru Kwanjenga gradually increases, the residents' main call to the government is to intervene and fast-track this exercise, and most importantly, for justice to be served. Ben Kirira, K24 in Mukuru Kwanjenga, Nairobi.
Right, still on that, the post-mortem on bodies recovered from quarry dump site in Mukuru Kwanjenga, Nairobi County began Monday evening at City Mortuary. Now, government pathologist Dr. Johansen Odur and a team of officers from the Department of Criminal Investigations spent the better part of the day taking DNA samples from the bodies. Civil society groups and human rights defenders have been granted access to the post-mortem exercise and have been present alongside their independent pathologists. So far, out of the 9 bodies, only 2 body bags have been handled. According to Odur, all contents of the body bags will undergo an X-ray and DNA test to help with getting their identity for families to identify their kin.
We had a multi-sectoral team led by, of course, Dr. Johansen Odur and different players that led the processes that took place today. We do want to acknowledge that civil society, specifically human rights entities, were represented to witness and observe the proceedings of the day. And I think that's a very good collaboration moving forward. We want to just affirm to the Kenyan public that we are watching, that we are keeping brief, that we are witnessing the process.
It is really important that we treat the dump site, the quarry dump site, as a crime scene, and that it is not disturbed in a manner in which we are not able to recover any other bodies that may be there, but also to give enough evidence for the homicide team to be able to identify what may have happened and also what is the pattern that connects these different crimes. As we know, the Director of Criminal Investigations have arrested a suspect. Until this process is complete, we will not know whether all of the bodies that we have seen or that have been delivered to the city mortuary come from this suspect and others. So
All right, away from that to a little bit of political action. President William Ruto has issued a firm warning to the Ford Foundation, insinuating that they are funding the countrywide Gen Z demos. Ruto says that he will do everything in his capacity as president to ensure that no chaos will further erupt in the country. He has, to this end, urged the youth to distance themselves from the protest. Mumbi Wambugu reports.
Youth in Nakuru County have been actively involved in the countrywide protest over President Ruto's governance. This is despite the region being one of his major political bedrocks. Just hours left before the expected Gen Z demos tomorrow, Ruto has now made a call for peace, urging youth not to participate.
We want a peaceful nation. Kenya is a democracy. There is no room for anarchy. There is no room for chaos because we are a democratic nation. We vote, we elect leaders. And we vote democratically to elect leaders. We don't change, and we cannot run our country using chaos or revolutions or anarchy.
The president has also alleged that the demos are being funded by the Ford Foundation. He has issued a stern warning to the American Foundation.
Those who are behind the sponsoring the chaos in the Republic of Kenya, shame on them, because they are sponsoring violence against our democratic nation. Mimi nataka niulize watu wa Ford Foundation watuambie hiyo pesa wanatoa ifanye fujo ndio wapate faida gani? We are going to call them out and we are going to tell them if they are not interested in democracy in Kenya, if they are going to sponsor violence, if they are going to sponsor anarchy, we are going to call them out and we are going to tell them they either style up or they leave.
The country's head was speaking in Nakuru, where he was launching a series of projects, including the Nakuru Bus Park in Nakuru East. Here, he has promised to set aside job opportunities to the youth and the mama mboga.
Hiyo mimi napanga hii maneno ya Kenya, mimi nimesema. I am ready, I am willing, I am available to consult with as many leaders who are willing to consult with us so that we can form a government that is going to bring Kenya together, so that we can face the challenges of our nation together, so that we can sort out the challenges that face us, the challenges of unemployment, the challenges of public expenditure, the challenges of public debt.
Ruto has continued to condemn the Mukuru killings, affirming that proper investigations will be conducted and those involved will face the law. Mombi Wambogo, K24 TV, Nakuru County.
Right, Mumbi Wambogo there with a latest from the head of state. Still on that, youth across the country are expected to continue with the nationwide anti-government protests aimed at piling pressure on the government to address their demands. Now, a section of the youth from different counties have vowed to march to county offices in pursuit of accountability in the devolved functions. This even as many others declined calls for dialogue as electing Odera now reports.
After President William Ruto announced his commitment on a raft of measures aimed at improving performance and austerity in government, the recent one being dissolving of his entire cabinet, it seems not to have cured the challenges facing the Gen Zs. Pressure is now mounting on the president to promptly act on issues they term as urgent.
Sisi tuko leaderless, tuko partyless, na tuko tribeless. Tumeamua kile umeamua kufanya tutafanya, lakini na nyinyi msikize wa Kenya. Sisi mayouthman tunataka tu kazi, tunataka tu amani kwa nchi yetu, tunataka wazazi wetu waishi na amani, tupate kazi.
Recently, the head of state announced plans to have a dialogue. However, the youthful generation has declined the calls with a view that nothing tangible will emerge as previous engagements have borne no fruits.
There is no need for dialogue. Just implement whatever we are telling you to implement.
In Mombasa County, Gen Zs have vowed to pour to the streets, including marching to some county offices where they claim have been marred with rampant corruption.
Kuna vitu zinapitishwa zenye zinatugandamiza sisi. So hizi mazungumzo na hii dialogue tunataka ishuke, iko katika county level, tuweze kuangalia pia budgets zenye tuko nazo kwa county.
We have been focusing on the national issues na tumesahau kwa county hapa ndio kuna rotten issues zinatendeka.
This even as the business community vowed to open their businesses tomorrow.
Ndio tunasema kesho mabiashara tutafunga. Tutakuwa huko. Tutakuwa hao na sisi. Ama namna gani? Sasa tuko hapo.
Addressing the media in Nairobi, they said they will camp at their business premises to protect from looting.
Kuna wale wanalipwa na wale wanawalipa, na mimi nasema hivyo kwa sababu polisi wanawajua. Watafute mbinu ya kuwashika ndio hawa watu ambao wanakuja kuharibu mali wazuiliwe kuja kuharibu mali na kuiba na kupora.
Religious leaders have on their part urged Kenyans to sustain their clamor for better governance, with police urged to exercise restraint when dealing with protesters.
The police should provide protection to ensure a peaceful protest while also preventing an infiltration of individuals with malicious intention.
Even as they anticipate to pour to the streets tomorrow, their push, they say, is to have an accountable government that will address their grievances. Electin Odera, K24 TV.
Now, the national dialogue proposed by President William Ruto failed to kick-start off that is yesterday, after Azimio chief Raila Odinga pulled out from the talks following pressure from allies and supporters. Now, President Ruto failed to give directions on the dialogue as Odinga continues to fight the dilemma of listening to the president to engage in the talks or listen to Gen Z's calls to steer clear. Martin Opio reports.
Even though the dialogue called by President William Ruto was scheduled to begin today, that did not happen, with no single word from the government on the status of the talks. Dealing a blow to the meeting was the withdrawal of ODM chief Raila Odinga on Sunday.
With the help of what?
The president, on the other hand, opted to launch projects in Nakuru County.
Thank you very much.
Last week, the president and Raila Odinga agreed on a consultative meeting that will encompass the youths and other stakeholders, totaling to 150. The names were to be submitted by last week on Friday to pave way for Monday's meeting.
We want it to be a really very engaging conversation on the way forward, so that we deal with fundamental issues that are affecting our society today.
Following the announcement, Odinga was pressured by supporters and his core principles to publicly denounce the calls for dialogue. He heeded to the call, leaving the president exposed.
Mwaka hii wameua sasa karibu zaidi ya 100. Mtu kama hawa mikono yao imejaa damu. Mikono yao imejaa damu. Hatuwezi kuongea na hawa watu. Hayo mimi nasema no dialogue. No dialogue. No dialogue.
Azimio had scheduled a meeting on Monday, which was later postponed as differences of opinion within the coalition escalate owing to the calls for dialogue. Another one, which had been scheduled for Saturday, failed to kick off, and on Tuesday, the party, ODM, will meet its legislators through a parliamentary group meeting to chart the murky waters ahead and come up with a solid decision regarding the dialogue.
What dialogue is needed to get police officers whose faces have been in the media shooting wantonly, killing people? What dialogue is needed for them to go home? And what dialogue is needed on corruption? What dialogue is needed for the clear message to William Ruto and his regime that they must exit the stage? I think this particular Gen Z demonstrations were not by us. We tried as Azimio. We failed. Come with dialogue before. Let us allow children space to bring accountability to this country.
Odinga is in a dilemma on whether ODM should be part of government or not. Already, if indications from the party's Secretary General Edwin Sifuna are anything to go by, then the party might be softening its stand and ready to join the government.
As a party,
ODM has never shied away from stepping up and having difficult conversations whenever the destiny of our nation is at stake. Indeed, it is said that it is in times of crisis that leadership emerges. The emerging issues and the urgent need to address them is not about rescuing the Kenya Kwanza regime or indeed William Ruto. The nation is bigger than and distinct from any one of us.
Odinga's quagmire is further exacerbated by his quest to be the chair of African Union, a position that must have the government's backing, and his are also throwing a warning to Odinga not to make any attempts to sanitize President Ruto's government from its tribulations. The Gen Zs have remained adamant that they don't have a leader and that their only interest is action and accountability. All eyes are now on ODM legislators as to whether they will ratify the calls for dialogue and what they will ask President Ruto in exchange for their support, given that the president has shown interest in forming a government of national unity. Martin Opio, K24 TV, Nairobi.
Now, the High Court revoked the appointment of Anthony Mwaura as the chairman of the Kenya Revenue Authority Board following a petition that was filed by Nakuru-based Sergeant Dr. Gikenyi. In his ruling, Justice Francis Gikonyo says the appointment of Mwaura in November 2022 was unconstitutional and national violated integrity values since he was facing criminal charges, including corruption and economic crimes. Timothy Seymour reports.
The chairman of the Kenya Revenue Authority has been quashed by the High Court.
We are going to change KRA, and it will be a very welcoming body.
Precisely, his appointment by President William Ruto in 2022 was illegal and unconstitutional. Justice Francis Gikonyo in his verdict says Mwaura's appointment as KRA chair when facing charges of corruption and economic crimes was a violation of national values and integrity ethos.
You are really supporting us, and the government is fully behind.
According to the judge, the requirement of holding public office is public trust, and for the reason that Mwaura was facing corruption and economic crimes charges yet to be determined, he doesn't merit public trust to serve Kenyans. At the same time, the judge dismissed Mwaura's argument that nothing prevented his appointment at that time. The petitioner, Dr. Benjamin Gikenyi, had told the court that Mwaura's appointment was inconsistent with the law on integrity and governance values. The court agreed. In April this year, the Orange Democratic Movement ODM protested the appointment of Mwaura to head United Democratic Alliance National Elections Board. In its statement, the Raila Odinga-led party argued that Mwaura's involvement in politics while holding a public office was contrary to the Ethics and Integrity Act. They demanded Mwaura and Kenya Power chairperson Joy Midivo to relinquish public offices. Timothy Seymour, K24 TV.
Now, Dadaab Member of Parliament Farah has defended himself over the recent allegations on social media, allegedly advocating for killing of demonstrating Gen Z youth. According to Farah, the allegations are false and that the video doing rounds online was edited, promising that the truth will come out soon.
Stuff has been going out there in the media for the last couple of days that concerns me and actually claims that I called for the killing or the death of 5,000 youth. And that is the height of misrepresentation and misinformation. There's no way I can call for the death of my own children. And I'll tell you exactly what I said. And this had nothing to do with Kenya. The speech, the bulk of the speech, a very long speech, people edited and did a lot of bits and pieces here and put together something just to, take a shot at me. I told them, at the time when the state was collapsing itself, and the former head of state, Mohamed Siad Barre, was pleading with the masses of his own country, give me a small moment so that I can create a transitional authority. I can transfer power to somebody so that you can then have a temporary period in which you people can decide what you want to do with this country. And they refused. And they came in the form of many liberation movements. And I mentioned the names of the liberation movements that time. And I said, I'm not a Somali national. I am not the head of state. I am a Kenyan. I don't think I'll ever become a head of state in here. But if I were him that time, in hindsight, I would have used the possible limited force within that place to maintain the cohesion, the unity, and the stability of the country.
All right, that is the latest as far as news is concerned here on New Dawn. And of course, this morning we'll be having a conversation around the state of the nation with what is happening. And joining me for this conversation, I'll be speaking to Honorable Frederick Ikana, who is the Member of Parliament Shinyalu, and of course Jackson Kiara Wanjama, who is a suspended prisons warden protester, and Hatib Mwashetani, who is the former Member of Parliament Lunga Lunga constituency. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for making time. You didn't get traffic, did you?
We didn't.
And of course, we'll be getting into that conversation here on the New Dawn. Continue engaging us on our socials. That is at Amoy Brian on X, at K24 TV. We are also live on Facebook and on YouTube, and we'll be appreciating your feedback. Tell us where you are watching us from and what you think about this conversation on the state of affairs in the nation. There are so many things that are happening. Of course, today we expect also people will be taking to the streets to protest against the government with their demands continue rising. Of course, engage us on our socials at K24 TV. We'll be back in a few.